we go. Good. So first question is, what is your name or your artist name? But in this case, I know they're one and the same.
Yes, I go by Eugene Friesen.
Wonderful. And where are you currently based?
I'm living out in Western Vermont, and it's very near the New York border. Beautiful, beautiful 500-acre farm here that belongs to a friend of mine. So yeah, it's very bucolic, very, very lovely.
Wonderful. And where do you come from?
Well, I was raised up in California.
Nice.
My parents were Russian Mennonite immigrants who were both born in Russia, came to Canada as children, and then eventually immigrated to the US where I was born.
Very, very nice. So we'll move on to the cello questions. What's your earliest cello memory? Either first time you played, first time you saw it, what's your first cello memory?
Well, it wasn't that positive, actually. I mean, I scored well on these kind of hearing tests in elementary school. You know, I guess I was, 6 or 7 years old. And so my dad said, you should choose an instrument. You could play an instrument. They're encouraging you to learn an instrument. Well, what do you want to play? And I kind of made the trombone, I went like this because I'd seen them before. They're really shiny and it's cool how you moved your arm back and forth. And my dad just turned pale and said, okay, here, just ask for a cello when you go there. And so I did that, and they gave me this thing. And I took it home and blew on every possible hole that it has. But
really?
Anyway, that was a long time ago, and since then I've grown to appreciate the cello.
Yeah. No, I've had a couple of people that I might be interviewing, and that I did interview. David Flores is working as a professional cellist, but a few people might not be. You are a professional cellist, but how would you consider yourself to be primarily making your living in terms of cello?
Well, I've been at it for a long time, and I've been very blessed to support myself and my family as a musician since I was 18 years old. So I've been, teaching has always been an important part of my life, but then I've also done a lot of touring, road work. I played with an ensemble led by a saxophone player, Paul Winter. And Paul Winter is a jazz musician with a real love for symphonic instruments. So he developed these ensembles that kind of had the mentality of jazz, but with oboe and English horn, cello, sometimes he's had harp and flute in his ensembles. And we've really taken music from many, many different world traditions and blended them into this kind of synthesis. So that's the Paul Winter Consort. And I played with Paul for most of my career playing out. But I have other groups, and the last 20 years, I've also been on the faculty of the Berklee College of Music in Boston, which I really, really love. So that, in addition to being very active in recording on people's projects. And I guess where I've kind of planted my flag, Natasha, is in the realm of improvisational cello, because, working with singers and songwriters and lots of different contexts, very often we're creating music where there's no written cello part. And those are my favorite, things to do, because it calls forth what I can comfortably do on the cello. And a lot of my interests in world music tend to come out when I do that. So it's a very rich life: teaching, performing, touring, recording.
Very nice. Mix of everything, basically, pretty much. Yeah. I took the improvisation course with you last summer that you offered, thanks to the pandemic, online, and that was also a really, really nice experience. Are you planning to do courses like that again?
Yeah, we're developing some more courses. Yeah.
Sweet.
And I'm so glad you took that course. I was really honored, because I'm a fan of your music too, Natasha, and the stuff that you've done as a soloist and as a composer. Yeah, very cool. I think it's so great how many of us classically trained players are really rediscovering creativity and improvisation in a really elemental way. It's been gone from our tradition for 200 years. And so pretty exciting time.
No, it is really wonderful. And that was one of the things that I was really focusing on also with these vlogs and this interview format is exactly this kind of corner of music where we have these cellist composers, which I think could almost be just blended with cellist improvisers who are creating new music now today, or new arrangements of music we might already know. So that's kind of slipped us into my next question. You know, what kind of music do you feel like that you compose and arrange? You have a lot of sheet music available on your website. There's also CDs. How would you characterize that music?
Well, sometimes I describe my stuff as just the product of, you know, years and years of wasted practice time. Because, you know, sometimes I'll sit down to practice one thing and I get fascinated with one small element and end up, you know, just jamming on that and turning it into something completely different. So a lot of the music that I've birthed has been really just the product of my curiosity and my affection for some sounds, some rhythmic feels, some chord progression, you know, that I've stumbled on over the years. But I think the most important thing, and we've kind of touched on it already, is really encouraging people's improvisational voice. I think that this, especially for the state of the planet right now, I think it's incredibly important.
Yeah, that they were all creating, yeah.
Yeah, and giving voice to, you know, musical messages that are really relevant at this time.
Yeah.
That we're not just reawakening, you know, messages that were meant for a century or four earlier, as beautiful as that is, and as important as it is, especially for our training. But to really give birth to what Jung called the language of the present, you know, that kind of collective unconscious idea, that there is a kind of a source of guidance. There's a source of information, of storytelling below the conscious level, yeah, that we can access, you know, with a certain kind of stillness and a kind of musical preparation. So it's exciting to see so many players value that and to really bring their own voices out in new music.
Oh yeah, no, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. It's going to give me stuff to think about for days now. That's, yeah. But it's, what's your, if you had to choose one, what would be one of your favorite arrangements or compositions that you've done up to date?
Well, something that happened to me earlier in my career has actually been really, really formative to a lot of my thinking and continues to be relevant. And that is an experience I had in 1986. So it was my first recording as a kind of a solo artist. And the producer, Paul Winter, who I mentioned earlier, my band leader, was producing this record for us, set me up in a beautiful cathedral in New York, St. John the Divine, yeah, where we often play. And, you know, it was the middle of the night because it's open to the public during the day. And I was there with the pianist, Paul Halley. And we brought a bunch of sketches and things like that. But at one point, Paul said, you know, why don't you guys just try doing some noodling, just to loosen up a little bit. In other words, improvising. And we did this. It sounded so amazing in the cathedral. And after about an hour, Paul came back on the headphones and said, I think the record is done. Wow. And in fact, it did turn out to be a release of pieces that were all complete free improv set, you know, where we didn't talk about any aspect of it. Wow. And the very first piece on that record, which is called New Friend, is a piece called First Ride. It was the first of our duos that really took flight. It just sounds like, you know, like the untethered soul, you know? Yeah, no, I've heard that. It's a super energetic. You heard that? Oh yeah. Yeah, it is. I think about that all the time. And just what was going on there that made us, you know, able to receive that amazing gift. I've thought about that for a while. Yeah, and I love the title. I feel like it really kind of shows that kind of, you were let loose. You were allowed to just kind of unbridled joy and flying and kind of, yeah, no, it's really nice. It's beautiful. Both of you, just doing all the things you can. But it's a really joyful piece. That was one of the things that I really enjoyed about it. Because you had mentioned it in the course as well. And so then I went back and listened to it and I was like,
really nice, really
I
nice
mean, that was a long
feeling.
time ago, and since then I've integrated a lot of other musical styles. I have a lot more vocabulary in terms of improvising over chord changes and things like that. But still, the spirit of that, the spontaneity of it, and the freedom of it is still kind of, unmatched in my repertoire.
Yeah, fantastic. Um, then opening up to other repertoire. Do you have a favorite piece specifically for cello or cello ensemble?
Um, I mean, yes, and you're Brazilian, Natasha, in your blood, and so I'm sure you've played the Villa Lobos, the Bachianas Brasileiras,
Yes.
and I've been going to this cello festival in Brazil. I've probably been there, I don't know, 5 or 10 times, and we play that every year with a group of like 40
Yeah.
cellos, and that just remains to be the pinnacle of cello ensemble experience.
Yeah.
It's also informed my writing, and I've done some arrangements for solo cello. One is a piece by Dave Brubeck called Tritonus that
Okay.
he wrote for guitar and flute,
Oh, nice.
and it moves around a lot, so it's very difficult for cello quartet. But it's been played a number of times, and then I also have a quartet that um, I had a lot of fun writing called "The Soul of the White Ant," which has
Wow.
the extended techniques that I love inside of it. And it's about 17 minutes long.
Very cool. Very cool. These extended techniques, I mean, that's I feel the direction that a lot of cellists are moving into this lately, and that we're trying to kind of expand our horizons. I have a lot of colleagues who also, like me, were classically trained and even began their careers as classical musicians, and who in the last few years I've noticed have been experimenting. Oh, well, we could try a little improvisation, we can try some chopping, we can try some different pizzicato techniques. And I feel it's a really wonderful thing to have composers now creating music and notating it, especially for cellists who are trying to make this shift in a new direction.
Right.
And yeah, that's thank you for that. It's always great to
Yeah.
have these ways to learn these pieces.
I always say to my students, you are what you eat. So depending on what you like to listen to, when you start making your own music, that tends to really inform what you want to do. In my case, I love listening to a lot of like field recordings from different parts of Africa, and even like children singing together in a kind of a rhythmic, setting, and instruments like the mbira, the thumb piano, and the kora, the African harp. These are things that have sounds and kind of rhythmic information in it that really makes me want to create something so I can share in that beauty somehow.
Yeah, yeah, and you've then essentially chosen to remain focused on the cello, right? I mean, that remains your basic instrument. Do you feel like you can manage to get the spirit of these other sounds and other cultures through the instrument? Do you feel like
Yeah, I mean, actually, during the pandemic, I've spent so many hours with my looper,
yeah,
building up layers of things and experimenting with how different rhythms work together and stuff with the looper. It's really, really fun. But the other kind of instrument that I've really come to appreciate is the string orchestra, because I have I direct an ensemble at Berkeley in Boston called the Berkeley World Strings, which is kind of a handpicked group of string players from all over the world, many of whom are fantastic improvisers, either in Celtic or Middle Eastern, jazz, of course, gypsy jazz, Brazilian, a lot of people from all over the world. And we've developed repertoire that really represents, people's comfort zones as improvising soloists the best we can. And so every semester I write at least one original piece for that group, and also arrange some folk music for that group too. So
wow.
that, I feel like that's kind of like one of my instruments, is the string orchestra.
Is the string orchestra? That's really
Yeah.
cool. No, that was making me think like then you were talking about earlier what you are what you eat, in terms of then also the music that you listen to. And so I guess these young people are also being exposed to music of different cultures through your work and through that sort of work.
And through each other's experience.
Yeah, that's true.
You know?
Yeah, absolutely. We all have our own corner of the world we come from.
Yeah, my student Kelly Pinheiro, she's from Rio, and she just is just a natural expression of Brazilian music. It's what she's heard since she was an infant.
Yeah.
And so to be able to sit side by side with Kelly and play this repertoire gives you an in to that style, that feel, that is, you can't get a book or listening to a record.
Yeah, you need to be hanging out with someone and just enjoying the moment. What would be something that you feel like you really loved listening to that you wish someone else would also eat, essentially? What would be another piece that you feel like a lot of people, or a lot of cellists especially, might want to listen to and add to their musical repertoire?
I don't think that I would point to anything specific, but just I think the bigger point is to be curious about this amazing world that we have access to right now, like never before.
Yeah, it's true.
Like never before. And I think simply one's curiosity will lead you to a sound that ignites something in your imagination, that opens your heart in a different way. And I think once we open our heart to those kind of sounds, we can't help but open our heart to the people who make those sounds too. And it's so curious to me, so interesting to me when I hear something, to be curious, well, how do these people get married? What do they do at their weddings?
Yeah.
What do they do at their funerals? How do they celebrate birthdays? Holidays do they have? What do they eat? And I think all those questions just make it more obvious how connected we all are.
Yeah, I agree. I guess we find a lot of similar answers. I've had the sort of the privilege of coming from a multicultural background, with my mother from Quebec and my father from Brazil, and then I grew up in the United States, and we were all there together. And now I've moved to Germany, and I guess the one thing that really has resonated with me all through these different years is just how much culture is you can learn through language and then through music. Then you get to know kind of the spirit of another group of people, and the sorts of things that they find interesting and beautiful and wonderful. And then you realize a lot of things you enjoy and you find also interesting and beautiful and wonderful, even though you had no idea they existed before.
That's right. That's right. You're a true citizen of the world.
Yeah. Well, it's still all very from a fairly narrow group of cultures. We've had experiences with Middle Eastern and Asian cultures that I've not really had the chance to touch on yet. And also what you were saying about different African countries and the music that you've been listening to.
Well, that's right.
With the field recordings,
because really our whole mindset, I think, has been just completely blown up, or maybe a better word is illuminated by the kind of mindset of jazz.
Yeah. And
it's really true that, jazz is such a kind of an Afrological stream of music, rhythmically, and the whole, and form-wise too, the different kind of forms that are really much more conducive to improvising than a lot of the kind of through composed forms from Western music.
Yeah.
But the thing that jazz has really taught us is how rich our music can be if we really pick from a lot of different streams. It's kind of what we're talking about. And jazz has developed the techniques to really understand what the different streams are and how to quickly integrate them and to make your own sound using them. So I think we just owe a tremendous debt of gratitude to, Black musicians, jazz musicians, and it's just changing everything.
Yeah, that's lovely. Yeah, so we just go out and learn from each other. Just learn whatever we each have to say.
I think that's how the world has always been, but now we have kind of enhanced permission somehow to do that.
Yeah, that's true. We've all learned to interconnect even more. Well, then I'm going to slowly wrap this up, and I wanted to one of the things that I wanted to focus on is also the music that you have. You have a sheet music page on your website? Do you have a couple of suggestions of highlights from that sheet music page? I really like the Cello Man theme.
Yeah. Cello Man Blues. Yeah, there's a lot there. There's I've developed, as a better word, this kind of pizzicato techniques where I use a lot of left hand pizzicato and hammer-ons and stuff like that in order to get very, very active in various rhythmic fields. So that stuff is there. A couple of the piece I mentioned earlier, The Soul of the White Ant, is there in an arrangement for cello quartet as well as string orchestra. And another one of my favorite pieces called Maracaibo, which is a piece that was originally for the trio that I play with, Trio Globo, with Howard Levy and Glenn Velez.
Yeah.
And that's there in an arrangement for, I think for cello quintet, as well as string orchestra and string quartet. Nice. Yeah.
Very cool. Then where else should we look for you? I have already mentioned your website a few times, but there might be some other channels. Where can we find you and more about you?
That seems to be the easiest thing these days. It's so easy just to type a word in and just get a whole album or whatever. It's eventually I'm hoping we're figuring this out so that artists really get compensated for their music and for those kind of performances. But it is a very, very convenient way to get to know a lot of different music by different artists. So that's one option too.
All right, super. Anything else that you wanted to share with us before we wrap this up?
Not at all. It's good to see you again, Natasha.
Wonderful to see you too. Well, I'm glad that you're doing well, and thanks for being here with me today.
My pleasure. Thanks for your curiosity.
Hope everybody enjoyed this.